All right, today's adventure takes us to the Udvar-Hazy Air and Space Museum out on the Dulles Airport outside of Washington, D.C. I understand it is one of the premier aviation museums in the Washington area. So let's go in, take a look. The center is located on the south end of the Dulles Airport, part of the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. It has an amazing collection of aviation and space artifacts. One of the first things encountered here on the second floor is this World War II era P-40 Warhawk suspended from the ceiling. Just take a look down into the south end of that gallery. And an F-4U Corsair, and down below on the floor some Cold War aircraft of various types. Huge aviation museum, part of the Air and Space Museum in Washington. Look at that, fantastic. There's a small gas turbine engine, and then there's this monster 36-cylinder 5,000 horsepower Lycoming prototype engine that actually never went into production. And next is this 10-cylinder diesel engine developed by the British. This is a Packard Merlin engine. These engines were British designed and manufactured under license by Packard here in the US. A great design. They found their way into thousands of aircraft and even into PT boats during World War II. This sad-looking aircraft is a Sikorsky flying boat. Its condition is due to years of outdoor storage, and the aircraft is currently awaiting restoration. What makes this airplane special, other than being old and rare, is the fact this very aircraft was on the ground in Pearl Harbor when the Japanese attacked on December 7th, 1941. Here's an F-14 Tomcat fighter made somewhat famous by the movie Top Gun, now retired from U.S. Navy service. This is an X-35B, one of the prototypes or test aircraft used to develop the Joint Strike Fighter. Designed for short takeoff and vertical landing operations, it led to the production of the F-35 fighter that is now in use with the U.S. military. This is the X-35's engine, configured with the vector jet nozzle in the back and the lift fan unit up front. An A-6 Intruder, another retired U.S. military aircraft. An F-4 Phantom, some called it a Flying Brick or Old Smoky. And right next to it, it's Nemesis, a MiG-21, a Russian, or more correctly, Soviet-made fighter. Heading into the McDonald's Space Hangar area where the Shuttle Discovery is. Overhead, there are various flying missiles and bombs hanging from the ceiling. And over here, all sorts of rockets and engines. A very nice Saturn V moon rocket model with one of the Gemini project vehicles next to it for comparison. And the star of the show, the Shuttle Discovery, still in the gritty, grimy condition it returned to Earth on its last mission, March 9th, 2011. A nice view of the three main engines. The umbilical plate where Discovery attached to the pad until just a moment before launch. These ports might be where the main fuel tank attached to the vehicle, but I could be wrong. Here are a few of the 31,000 tiles that protected the craft during re-entry, each with its own unique number. Here's a video of Discovery's last launch.
2, 1. Booster ignition and the final liftoff of Discovery. A tribute to the dedication, hard work, and pride of America's space shuttle team. The shuttle has cleared the tower.
In the back of the facility, there's an overlook into the restoration area, where you can see what projects are underway, like this B-26 that has been disassembled. Back out into the main hangar to do some more looking around. There's the museum's SR-71 Blackbird down there, and the area where I was a few minutes ago. There's a rare find. A World War II era German Me-163 rocket airplane. Another very significant aircraft, the Enola Gay, the B-29 that dropped the atomic bomb on Japan in 1945. Not just the same model or one like the Enola Gay, this is the Enola Gay. This is the Boeing 367-80, which was the prototype aircraft for Boeing's very successful 707, and a military version of the Lockheed Super Constellation. I've always thought that this was a beautiful airplane. Here's a Pratt & Whitney turbofan without its cowling. You can get a good appreciation of how large the fan is compared to the actual engine. And this is a cutaway of an A380 Airbus landing gear strut. The museum even ended up with one of the 20 Concords built. Take a look at those postage stamp-like windows. Tucked under the SST wing is this, a statue of Bob Hoover and the Shrike Commander he flew. I remember him flying this airplane at air shows in the 70s and 80s. This looks to be one of FedEx's original Falcon 20s. A quick look at the tail on this aircraft looks like it belongs to a B-17. And so do the landing gear. It's a Boeing 307 Stratoliner, and I can see they borrowed heavily from their B-17 model. But the nose looks like it came from a C-46. This area is devoted to World War I era aircraft, like this Newport, and the German Halberstadt down there. Here's another early airplane awaiting restoration. This is a Ryan PT-22, and back in the 1970s when I worked at the McGuire Airport, one of these was based there. As luck would have it, the fire alarm went off and we were forced to vacate the building. So for now, that ends my explore of this fantastic aviation collection. But before I go, if you want to pause the video, here's some information about Stephen Udvar-Hazy, the man who made the center possible. Remember, life is a journey, enjoy the ride, and thanks for watching.